All right, let's dive into one of the most famous, most epic tragedies ever written, Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. We're going to unpack the powerful forces. We're talking intense love, deep-seated hate, and maybe a little bit of fate that put two young lovers on an absolute collision course. Let's get into it. So get this, in the very first few lines of the play, Shakespeare basically spoils the entire ending. He just comes right out and tells us that a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life. So right from the jump, the question isn't what happens, we already know that. The real mystery, the thing we're going to dig into, is why. What on earth pushes them to this devastating end?
First up, the spark. The most powerful force in this whole story is, of course, their love. But listen, this is not your average everyday romance. No way. This is an explosive, all-consuming passion that just ignites right in the middle of a war zone. It's the very thing that lights the fuse for the entire tragedy.
And this line from Juliet says it all. The moment she finds out that the guy she just fell for is a Montague, her family's #1 enemy, she says this: her greatest joy comes directly from her greatest hate. I mean, wow. That single line just perfectly captures the impossible, tangled-up situation they're in from the very beginning.
And to really get how radical and, frankly, how dangerous their love was at the time, you have to look at the alternative. On one side, you've got their wild, impulsive, love-at-first-sight thing that basically shatters all the social roles. And on the other side, you have Paris's proposal to Juliet, the sensible, practical, parent-approved match. It was all about duty and family status. So yeah, what Romeo and Juliet had wasn't just a romance, it was a full-blown rebellion.
But here's the thing, their love doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It's born into a world that is completely poisoned by the next major force at play, the ancient grudge. And this is way more than just a little family spat. It's a citywide feud that has made everything toxic. And that's the key. The craziest part, really, we never find out why they're fighting. No one seems to even remember how it all started. It's just this senseless, inherited hate. In Verona, violence is just the default setting. It's the air everyone breathes. So this backdrop of pure, irrational anger makes their love not just difficult, but pretty much impossible.
And this conflict is coming at them from every angle. I mean, you have the obvious one, the Montagues versus the Capulets out on the streets, but then you've got Juliet's inner battle, her love for Romeo versus her loyalty to her family. Then there's the social pressure, having to stick up for your friends and your family's honor. And to top it all off, you've got Lord Capulet demanding she do what he says. They are well and truly trapped.
And if you want proof of just how deep this hatred runs, you don't have to look any further than Tybalt, Juliet's cousin. This guy is the poster child for rage. In the very first scene, he basically says that the word peace makes him as sick as the idea of hell. Who thinks like that? It just shows you there is no reasoning with this conflict. It's a raw, violent hatred, plain and simple. So, we have this explosive love in a world of explosive hate. It's a recipe for disaster. But what happens when you add a third ingredient, the feeling that maybe, just maybe, none of this is actually under their control? And that, my friends, brings us to the powerful idea of fate. Let's go back to that phrase from the prologue, star-crossed. Today, that sounds poetic, right? But for Shakespeare's audience, it was way more literal. They believed astrology was real, that the stars could actually determine your destiny. So hearing that phrase told them immediately that these two are doomed by forces way bigger than them. It gives us, the audience, this incredible sense of dramatic irony. We're watching this train wreck happen in slow motion, knowing exactly where it's headed, even when they have no idea. And the whole play is just littered with these moments that feel like the hand of fate is pushing them along. Romeo has a bad feeling, a premonition of something terrible, right before going to the party where he meets Juliet. Later, after he kills Tybalt, he screams, "Oh, I am fortune's fool," like he's just a pawn in someone else's game. And then, the most devastating moment of all, the one letter from the friar that could have saved everybody, gets held up because of a quarantine. I mean, talk about bad luck. So it really makes you wonder, are these just a series of tragic coincidences, or is a larger destiny pulling all the string?
So what happens when these three massive forces, that passionate love, that ancient hatred, and that sense of inescapable fate, finally collide? Well, you get a catastrophic explosion of violence.
Friar Lawrence says this to Romeo right before he marries them, and it might just be the most important line in the whole play. He's making a direct link. He's saying this intense, wonderful, delightful love they feel is going to have an equally intense and violent ending. It's like the very passion that pulls them together is the same force that's going to blow everything apart.
And you can literally watch the dominoes fall, one by one. It starts with that brawl in the street. That leads to Tybalt killing Romeo's best friend, Mercutio. That in turn causes Romeo to snap and kill Tybalt in a rage, which gets him banished. His banishment separates the lovers, which leads to the friar's desperate last-ditch plan, a plan that fails spectacularly and leads directly to their deaths. You see, each violent act triggers the next in a completely unstoppable chain reaction.
So, after all the death, all the destruction, what's left? Well, the tragedy does finally end the feud, but it comes at an absolutely unimaginable cost. This is the grim aftermath. This is the price of peace.
And here's where it all comes together. This is like the ultimate summary. You can see how the big themes connect to the most powerful lines. For love, you've got Juliet's great paradox. For conflict, Mercutio's famous curse, a plague of both your houses. For fate, Romeo's cry of helplessness, and for violence, the friar's chilling warning. It's a perfect map of all the forces that drive this story.
Okay, now for anybody studying this for an exam, here is a massive tip. Pay attention. Don't just list the themes like you're checking off a shopping list. To get the top grades, you have to explain how they're all linked. How does the ancient conflict make their love so much more intense? And how does that fated love then lead directly to violence? It's all about cause and effect. That's the conceptualized approach that examiners are always looking for.
Which leaves us with one final, really tough question to think about. Their love story led to 6 deaths, including their own. That's a lot of destruction. But it also ended the ancient feud that was tearing Verona apart. So what do you think? Was their love ultimately a destructive force that ripped a city apart? Or was it a redemptive one that healed it through an incredible sacrifice? That's the question at the heart of the tragedy. Thanks so much for tuning in.